Hello everyone, and thanks so much for joining us for this Friday's Alaska weather. On the breakup chart here, we've got a flood advisory out for a short stretch of the Koyukuk River here, mostly, due to snow melt. And that's out through tomorrow into tomorrow night probably for high water levels in the stretch from Alakakit to Hughes on there. Otherwise, pretty well open everywhere else. Even the North Slope River is showing just open here, both of the Colville, Sagwan, and then that other one. And still some ice here on the Noatak River, showing some just some open areas in this stretch here. And that's about the last one, except still a lot of ice here on the out toward the Arctic coast there on the North Slope rivers. And moving on to fire danger. Some precipitation today moved up from the Copper River Basin along the eastern Alaska Range into the upper Tanana Valley, 40-mile country. That kind of broke things up. A couple areas had nearly a half an inch of rain, Susitna Glacier being one of them, and I believe Upper Chena, the other one, had 4/10 of about half an inch. And that was during a 12-hour period ending at 3 p.m. this afternoon. And then amounts were much lighter to none at all as you get farther to the north there. And still some high fire danger up over either side of the Yukon River, along the Porcupine River, up toward the southern slopes of the Brooks Range. And kind of high fire danger here west of the Alaska Range, Susitna Valley down from the Minchumina area, roughly Tanana, and to a lesser extent, much lesser extent, over the Copper River Basin, still in that same area. And a little bit in the Susitna Valley, kind of elevated for the areas of the Kenai Peninsula there, either side of Kenai. And moving on to satellite imagery, you can see the clouds associated with the showers today that were going on, kind of slipping up in from Canada here. And actually that same disturbance or clouds brought a little bit of moisture along the coastal areas of the Panhandle today, but nothing too significant. Sitka at about 1,500ths, as well as Gustavo, anywhere from 15 to 2/10 of an inch today. Otherwise, just kind of a cloudy day across the Panhandle with dry conditions. And we had some areas of light snow, fog scattered along the eastern Arctic coast, even out to the west a little bit there, due to this cloud mass up in that area. As you can see, kind of a little bit of a circulation with it, pulling off to the east. Most of the moisture is staying up off the coast there, but some of that getting on down into areas there. And then this system here bringing some rainfall, nothing too terribly heavy yet, about anywhere from 2 to 3/10 of an inch today from the Unalaska Island in toward portions of the Alaska Peninsula, and clouds spreading up to Kodiak Island, which will be followed by rain as that a little bit more heavier moisture down in this portion of the frontal system will continue to push up to the northeast. Otherwise, we had sunshine breaking out over the southwest interior today, especially the Kuskokwim Delta into the Kuskokwim Valley, northern areas of Bristol Bay, as well as trying to here in south central Alaska a little bit. But the Bering Sea here pretty well clouded over with areas of low clouds, fog, maybe even some drizzle. As reported at Tin City there, but dry day, although cloudy for Savunga and Gamble. Same thing for the Pribilofs, dry conditions. And some clouds, higher clouds, building out to the west there ahead of the next weather system. Initially, just some surges sort of dissipating as they come in from the southwest out that way, but there is another system. That'll push some rain into the Shimia area later tonight and into tomorrow. And rolling this through again, you can see that, again, this system here tracking off to the east and really kind of up off the coast there with the most of the snowfall with it off the coast, but still some flurries and fog here scattered along the coastal areas. North slope generally cloudy. Then south of the mountains, temperatures rising due to sunshine here from the Koyukuk Valley eastward there to the border, but nothing too high. 70 degrees as of 3 p.m. at Eagle is one of the warmer spots I saw this afternoon. A little cooler here, of course, with the clouds and showers and the rainfall. Upper Tanana Valley, about 0.04 of an inch fell at Fairbanks International Airport, but I believe it's Chattanooga, just off to the west-northwest. They had about 2 to 3/10 of an inch. And clouds here over the northern Cook Inlet area, Matanuska-Susitna Valley. Basically cloudy in the Copper River Basin, isolated showers again up there toward Nebezna and Chisana. But clearing here for the Gulf of Alaska, sun breaking out there along the North Gulf Coast as well at the Kenai Peninsula and much of Cook Inlet, Kamishak Bay, and toward down to the coast of Bristol Bay. Pretty nice over the southwest interior as well as the Seward Peninsula. Inland area seeing some sunshine, but low clouds, fog, and drizzle here for the Bering Strait. High pressure out over the Bering Sea for light winds and a few scattered showers here along the southeast coast, which tonight will push off to the southeast with the upper level low that brought that, which wasn't much at all. So they'll pretty much end here during the evening hours, and it'll be slow to clear, but eventually it's going to start clearing. It's start getting more offshore flow, especially aloft. And look for clearing to occur here over much of interior Alaska. These showers will dissipate or continue to dissipate. And again, both of the light snow pushes off to the east in the Mackenzie River Bay area. But still, that'll persist along the eastern stretch of the coastline up there through the night tonight, but dry down along this north slope and through the Brooks Range. And we've got rain, as I mentioned, spreading into Kodiak Island. And front really not moving too fast. So once it starts there, it's going to probably continue at least through tomorrow. And a break back out here for Adak and Atka, and the next system pushing in towards Shemya. So for tomorrow, again, slow moving front, wet day, occasionally breezy there for Kodiak Island. And that moisture slipping on up to the southern Kenai Peninsula, southern Cook Inlet, Port Moller over toward, or Seldovia over towards Kamishak Bay, and scattered across the southwest interior. Nothing too terribly heavy, but enough to make it wet. Isolated thunderstorms possible now. Less shower activity, more sunshine, so that could trigger a better chance of an isolated thunderstorm there, mostly south of Eagle down toward North Weiratoke, north of the Alaska Range, sunshine over the southeast coast, and the next system pushing into the western Aleutians slowly, but we'll see on Sunday this front drives northeastward. And looks like a pretty good chance of rain coming across south central Alaska during the day, definitely for the North Gulf Coast. Breaking out the showers, Kodiak Island, mostly cloudy, showery, kind of unsettled, maybe a few breaks, sun breaks here in the afternoon of the southwest interior, but a band of rain here over the northwest part of the state, in down across the St. Lawrence Island area and Seward Peninsula, and kind of cloudy and occasionally showery for the Bering Sea. Lows for tonight, 45 to 50 eastern interior, 25 to 30 up along the Arctic coast, otherwise 40s just about everywhere else, maybe some upper 30s out over the Bering Sea and Aleutians. Highs tomorrow, 70 to 75, central eastern interior, lower 30s central Arctic coast, 60s south central Alaska, lower 70s Copper River Basin, 65 to 73 for the southeast coast. And then highs or lows tomorrow night, about the same here, a little warmer over the central interior, staying in the 50s. And highs Sunday a little warmer, 75 to 80 over the eastern interior areas, and in the 70 to 75 degree range in some portions of the southeast coast.
And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Moving on to aviation, we've got IFR covering much of the central eastern Bering Sea, up on the northern Yukon Delta coast, St. Lawrence Island, up through the strait, catching roughly Kivalina, Point Hope, Cape Lisburne, then eastward across the Arctic slope, and then back down across the Brooks Range into the Kobuk Valley. And VFR here over the west central interior with some marginal VFR to start the day out tomorrow, right on up into the upper Tanana Valley from the Copper River Basin. IFR holding off the southeast coast. And then for the afternoon, that kind of dissipates, especially in the southern area here. VFR day for the southeast coast, but marginal right along the coastline, marginal right along the eastern North Gulf Coast with IFR, southern coast of the Kenai Peninsula across Kodiak, all kind of increasing here from the southeast in the afternoon tomorrow, but good VFR on the interior, and IFR right along and off the eastern and central Arctic coast. Lots of IFR out here over the Bering Sea. And for Sunday morning, still socked in with the IFR over the central eastern Bering Sea and all of the Aleutians up across Kodiak Island and up along the eastern slopes of the western Alaska Range, Prince William Sound, IFR right into the coast of the Panhandle, and either IFR or marginal from the Brooks Range on out to the Arctic coast. VFR holding on here, central interior, especially the east side down into the Copper River Basin. And then for the afternoon, basically holds VFR here, eastern interior, not quite as far west. We've got marginal VFR creeping eastward, and then IFR up along the coast, some cases a little ways inland up to the Coast Range, Prince William Sound, and then down along Kenai Peninsula, Kodiak, and into Kamishak Bay. But holding off the coast here, the Panhandle, so it looks like VFR afternoon for Sunday there for the southeast coast. Nothing but IFR out west. And for passes, Anatuvik and Adigan tomorrow, pretty good VFR for both passes there. And for Lake Clark and Merrill, starting out VFR, but conditions deteriorating throughout the day, especially on both eastern approaches, trending toward marginal throughout the afternoon. And for Rainy, I think it'll stay VFR throughout the day. You'll see an increase in the clouds, lowering, but they should stay above the marginal VFR threshold till maybe evening. And windy, good VFR. Isabel, Mentasta, nothing but VFR, clear skies mostly. And for Tanita, VFR with Portage, again, seeing an increase on the lowering conditions here, especially on the eastern entrance, going marginal VFR in the afternoon. That'll take a little longer on the west entrance, but that'll be the trend. And for Chilkoot and White, VFR. Freezing levels, kind of a cool pocket up here along the eastern and central Beaufort Sea coast, kind of shoving some chillier air down to the Brooks Range there, 2,000 to 6,000 feet there across the mountains, but generally 6,000 to 8,000 here over the central southern interior, 10,000 feet up to Kodiak Island, roughly about 8,000 across all of the southeast coast, and 4,000 to 6,000 out over the Bering Sea. And for icing, a couple of zones, this one really not that significant. Some areas of isolated considerable moderate rime icing here, mostly above 7,000 feet or so, a little more extensive here on the southwest coast, maybe a patch of a considerable moderate. But anyway, light to isolated moderate right on down to the Fox Islands, and then some more icing coming into the western Aleutians there with that next frontal system pushing in. And for the jet stream, here's that low associated with that front I just spoke of coming in toward the western Aleutians, southwest Bering tomorrow afternoon with that one. Otherwise, wind here south of the Fox Islands. Southeast flow, 60 to 100 knots, strongest over Kodiak Island. That's going to be pulling that moisture northward. Otherwise, you've got ridging here, eastern Gulf of Alaska, up into the interior for the day tomorrow. And then the upper low here starting to pull off to the east. This one dropping to the southeast now, so that'll put entire southeast coast into at least offshore flow aloft. And for the 9,000 foot winds, southwest or south-southwest here at this level, 10 to 15, pretty light there for the Panhandle. Up to 40 knots, 30 to 40 knots coming up with this system, all the way up to Nunivak Island, falling back to 25 there over St. Lawrence Island. Light here under ridging over the interior, and then westerlies 20 to 25 or so on the extreme eastern Beaufort Sea coast. Pretty light out over the Aleutians. And for 3,000 feet, could maybe pick up to 30 knots with this low approaching Shumi and Attu, but from eastward of that area, pretty light, 5 to 15, maybe 20 knots for the Alaska Peninsula, and southeast, maybe 30 to as high as possibly 50 miles an hour there across northern Bristol Bay. As far as turbulence goes with those winds, we're looking at considerable moderate chop below 4,000 feet, Kodiak Island, northeast Bristol Bay, on up into the southern Kuskokwim Valley.
Can be many miles long, from 1 to 100 feet high, traveling at 400 miles per hour. This ocean monster is known as a tsunami, and it can wreak havoc on coastal populations and landscapes. A tsunami is a series of ocean waves caused by any large and sudden disturbance of the sea surface. Tsunamis can be generated by landslides, volcanic eruptions, or even meteorite impacts in the ocean. But they are most often caused by an earthquake where there's a sudden displacement of the ocean floor. When that happens, there's a transfer of energy from the sea floor to the ocean, causing waves on the surface to radiate outward in all directions. In deep waters, these waves may not even be detectable. But when the tsunami enters shallower waters, the wave speed slows and its height increases. The water along the coast may recede noticeably. A large wall of turbulent water, called a bore, may also form. When the tsunami hits, it may come ashore like a fast-rising flood and strike with devastating force. The The series of waves may continue for hours. The first one may not be the last or the largest. For your safety, know the potential warning signs of an incoming tsunami. A strong earthquake that causes difficulty standing. A rapid rise or fall of the water along the coast. A loud ocean roar. When you're in a coastal area, it's important to keep alert for messages from local officials, such as lifeguards, police, the U.S. Tsunami Warning Centers, and NOAA All Hazards Radio. If you find yourself in a location of a tsunami strike, here's what you need to do to stay safe. Keep calm. Walk or run to higher ground, 100 feet above sea level or 1 mile inland. Do not drive. Keep roads open for emergency vehicles. If you cannot move to higher ground, use the stairs to get to the 3rd floor or higher in a sturdy building. Follow all instructions from local officials and stay out of coastal areas until authorities issue an all clear. Tsunamis can strike any coastline in the world and can affect locations thousands of miles away from where they formed. They may be uncommon, but the devastation they cause makes them a deadly force in nature. For more information on tsunamis, go to the following sites.
Tsunami, a killer wave, speeding across the ocean at 400 miles an hour. It smashes into land, destroying everything in its path. Tsunamis do not have a season, but they can strike any coast at any time. If one forms close to the shore, the shaking of the earth and a loud roar may warn of its approach. But when a tsunami forms across the ocean, it can take hours to reach the shore, enough time to warn people to move to higher land. Over the past 20 years, NOAA has developed DART, a real-time monitoring system that provides data for forecasting tsunamis. The DART systems have been deployed in earthquake-prone areas throughout the ocean, including the Pacific and Indian basins. A DART system combines a surface buoy and a sensor on the ocean floor. This sensor detects changes in water pressure and seismic activity and transmits the data back to the surface. If these changes indicate a tsunami may form, the buoy signals an alert via satellite to the tsunami warning centers in Alaska and Hawaii. Back at the centers, scientists plug the data into pre-existing models. These models predict the height, the arrival time, and the coastal locations that the tsunami will hit. Watches and warnings are issued to the affected communities so preparations can begin. Today, 47 DART stations are positioned all around the world, ready to detect and warn coastal communities about the next potential tsunami. With the DART system and tsunami warning centers in place, we are now better prepared to predict a killer wave before it strikes.
December 26, 2004. What began as an undersea earthquake in the Indian Ocean ended as the most deadly tsunami in recorded history, with nearly 240,000 lives lost. This was a devastating wake-up call to coastal communities and tsunami research. Prior to this event, only 6 of NOAA's Deep Ocean Assessment and Reporting of Tsunami, or DART, buoys were in place. Scientists could only predict tsunami arrival times, not flood potential. And there was not a global tsunami warning system. Today, 10 years later, we can tell a different story. U.S. and international coastlines are far better prepared for such a catastrophe, thanks in large part to research and technology developed at the NOAA Center for Tsunami Research at Pacific Marine Environmental Laboratory. NOAA's DART array is now complete, with 39 buoys operated by the National Weather Service's National Data Buoy Center. Along with 21 international buoys, this array can measure a tsunami wave as small as 1 centimeter in the open ocean and provide these data in real time to forecast when a tsunami may hit the coast and how much flooding there will be. NOAA scientists and engineers are currently testing the 4th-generation DART buoy that will be able to measure local tsunamis as well as distant ones. Flooding forecast models incorporate local topography and historical tsunami data in order to more accurately predict exactly how a tsunami might behave when it reaches shore. NOAA has 75 site-specific models that can provide high-resolution flooding forecasts for effective response and mitigation during a tsunami event. NOAA has gathered data from every tsunami since 2004 to improve its forecast models. Today, it operates the world's only real-time tsunami flooding forecast system using DART data to accurately compute flooding forecasts. The NOAA Tsunami Warning Centers make tsunami data available on the internet and issue advisories, watches, and warnings through the Emergency Alert System and via NOAA weather radios. While it is impossible to prevent a tsunami, we are now much better prepared to detect them and predict their paths and impacts, so those in coastal communities can take the steps necessary to safely protect themselves.
And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Welcome back. Sea ice still melting here north of the Bering Strait, check CC, and up off the western Arctic coast, and that's going to continue for the next 5 to 6 days. And not much ice here south of the strait anymore, except over toward the Gulf of Anadyr. And for the coastal water forecast, northwest 15 to 20 on the south coast of the Panhandle tomorrow, with seas up to 7 feet, much lighter on the north side, west-northwest at 10, and south 15 for Lynn Canal, otherwise northwest 10 knots with central southern inside waters. And for Sunday, it stays pretty light here, especially around Clarence Strait, northwest at 10, seas 2 feet, northwest 10 along the outer coastline, and then turning variable to south here as you go north, and then southeast 15 in the afternoon for the extreme north coast. Lynn Canal winds in the afternoon south at 20, seas up to 4 feet. Prince William Sound tomorrow east 10 knots with 2-foot seas, and then southeast winds at about 15 for the eastern North Gulf Coast, but dramatically stronger here with gale warnings out for the western North Gulf Coast. East 35 increased to 40 knots across the Barrens, and that continues on in to Kamishak Bay. Southern Cook Inlet north winds coming up about 20 knots and northeast at 15 there for northern Cook Inlet. Outlook for Sunday, northeast 15 to 20 knots, strongest south of Forelands for the inlet, and lighter winds with still small craft advisories here. Pretty good breeze out of the east for Kamishak Bay. Southeast 30 of Barren Islands. East 30 knots, all of the North Gulf Coast. And northeast at 15 with 2-foot seas for Prince William Sound. And for Kodiak Island tomorrow, good gales. East 40 knots on the east side. Northeast 40 for Shelikof Strait. And Sitkinak Castle Cape south at 15 behind the front there. Otherwise, east 30 knots here, Bristol Bay, and the north side of the Alaska Peninsula, the Bering Sea side there in those marine zones. Otherwise, lighter winds on the south side at 20 with seas at 10 feet. For Sunday, southeast 15 here off Kodiak. So much lighter winds for Sunday than what you see tomorrow. And small craft advisories, east-southeast winds for the Alaska Peninsula, as well as Bristol Bay. And for the eastern Aleutians tomorrow, kind of a variable wind pattern here. North basically 10 to 20 knots there for the Fox Islands, north 20 for the Adak and Atka area. Then kind of light and variable again here west of Adak, turning southeast. Those gales may come up to gale force here for the western Aleutians tomorrow afternoon with that next system in the narrow band ahead of the front. And then they'll drop off to about 15 on Sunday with northwesterlies at about 20 from Kiska Island over toward Adak, Adak to Atka, northwest or west-northwest at 20. And 15-knot winds here, kind of variable west-northwest direction, turn east-southeast at 15 to 20, especially for Unalaska Island with those seas running 5 to 7 feet. And for the southwest coast, tomorrow looking like this, small craft advisories, northeast 25 to 30 knots, northeast 25 there for Pribilof Islands, north 25 for the St. Matthew Island area, and northeast at 20 for St. Lawrence Island. Outlook for Sunday, east 15 for Norton Sound, east 15 or east 20 there for St. Lawrence Island, and pretty light winds there north of Nunivak Island out of the southeast at 15 there along the Yukon Delta coast, east at 20 coming out of Kuskokwim Bay, northeast 15 for the Pribilofs, and northeast 25 for St. Matthew Island. And for the eastern Beaufort Sea coast, brisk wind advisories tomorrow, or actually I guess in areas here, except where it's ice, they got 20 knots. So it's either a small craft or a brisk wind advisory, matter of semantics, with seas at 5 feet on the extreme east coast there, but down to 15 on the central coast, even lighter winds on the west side here, and then from Wales up to Cape Beaufort, south at 15. And for Sunday, northeast winds now from Wales up to Cape Beaufort, 15 to 20 knots, and then small craft advisories here on the west side, east at 25. Otherwise, central and the eastern stretch of the coastline looking at east winds at 20 knots. And for tonight, again, clearing out here over the central and southwest part of the state. Showers that develop here continue to taper off, especially toward morning, and begin to see some breaks. Definitely start seeing some breaks show up here for the southeast coast with that upper level low pulling off to the southeast, and there weren't many showers with it, and whatever's left will end. And that system spreads rain up into Kodiak tomorrow, and again, those gale force winds from the marine areas. Lighter, more scattered nature, the precipitation back across the southwest, and sunny and warm over the interior. Risk of a thunderstorm just south of Eagle. Sunny and warmer for the Panhandle, and that continues into Sunday as well, but wet weather and cloudy for south central Alaska, Prince William Sound, locally into the central interior.
These forecasts are for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating.